Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into tonight's broadcast. It's the regional final, the Riverview Rams and your Venice Indians. Josh Grant and John Massoni here on the call. We hope you had a great Thanksgiving, great day off with your friends and family. But now it's time to get down to football time and to watch your Indians bring home a regional final.
Yeah, it's always a special time of the year. We talked about it last week a little bit, and you get to this time of the year. It's Thanksgiving. You have the special day on Thursday with the practice, and then you have the regional final here at home, which is a thing that we have come to maybe expect with the Indians, but you can't take it for granted. That's for sure. It's a special situation, and obviously we know what's at stake moving forward, and we also know that tonight's opponent is a familiar foe that we'll have to be very, 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 very focused on to win this football game.
We'll talk a little bit about them. We'll talk about the playoff scenarios. Got a lot of stuff here planned for tonight's pregame show, but let's talk about your Indians' 39-0 victory over Lehigh last week. A shutout. Defense held the running back, Richard Young, number one running back in the country, going to Alabama, to just 51 yards on 13 carries. Interesting strategy. Didn't run them as often as we'd like or often as we thought, but the defense did what they wanted to against Richard Young.
Yeah, I mean, you saw what he's capable of in the film and everything else he's done. He's legitimately that guy. But when you have a defensive line like the Indians do, you can't get started. There were 3 plays in particular that popped off the page, if you want to say, for us, is where he ran a kind of an inside run play and ran right into Trenton Kintai, didn't move an inch. Hit Trenton, didn't move him an inch, no gain. Next time it was Colin Atkins. Same situation.
Right.
And by the third time it happened, you could see the visible frustration on Richard Young's body language and whatnot. He was frustrated because, man, that doesn't happen too often to a kid like that, where he's about to go do his thing and he gets the line of scrimmage and he's stopped and for no gain. So Indian defensive line, the highly touted defensive line, really showed up and showed out in a game where they needed to with a guy of his talent playing for the Lightning.
And while all eyes were on Richard Young, Alvin Johnson for your Indians had his 5th 100-yard rushing game of the season and 4th straight. He finished with 122 yards on 21 carries and 2 touchdowns. He's just quietly emerged each week. You see Jamaris and Alvin get a similar amount of carries, but Johnson's making the most of his opportunities at this point.
And it really, if you broke it down even further, Alvin's had the bigger runs.
Yes.
So Alvin's had some burst plays, a 30-yard touchdown run near the end. That was the last score for the Indians last Friday night. But so he's sort of getting those bigger chunk plays. But Gator Wilder's got. I mean, he's a tough, hard-nosed runner. Down by the goal line, he's all about getting the ball over that goal line. So both of them have done a really nice job this year, complementing each other.
Johnson leads the team in rushing with 773 yards on the ground on 164 carries, and his second to Wilder on the team in rushing touchdowns with 8. Wilder 650 yards on the ground on 111 carries and has 10 rushing touchdowns. So in the beginning of the season, we were wondering where that running game was going. Now we know exactly where we're going with this, as these two are the bell cows for the Indians offense.
Yeah, and again, it's not only that, it's that you've got Brooks Bentley to kind of complement it as well. Brooks seems to be the guy that on a third down play or a certain key play, he's able to kind of motivate, inspire the team a little bit, and add a little bit of that where is he going to go next kind of situation. All of a sudden, you're focused on Alvin or Gator if he's in the backfield, and Brooks takes it down and keeps it and gets 10 yards for a first down. So the 3 of them complement each other very well. But the two main guys, the 2 bell cows, as you said, have become more and more effective and confident as each week has gone by.
Well, and I think what it also does for Bentley is these two have gotten better and better each week and have taken that pressure off of Bentley in the running game, where he's been able to focus more on his reads on the passing game, and it has shown in his performance. 13 of 18 last week for 153 yards and 2 scores, 18 touchdowns, and only 1 interception on the season. That 1 pick came against these Riverview Rams back on October 21st.
It did, and Brooks has been handling the ball very well. He's been doing a good job of, kind of guiding the team down the field, taking what they're giving him. And that's really, there's a lot to be said about that. When you see somebody who say, hey, last week they were playing off of Ryan Matulovic, a good distance, maybe 10, 15 yards off of him. Those kids are so accustomed to throwing those little 5-6 yard hitches.
Yep.
They can do it all day, all
Pick
night.
them apart all night.
And then all of a sudden you got to move up, and then you got a chance to go over the top. So Brooks we've been finding the right guy, and I think one of the things that's been key to the offense passing-wise is that it seems that him and Keon Sears finally got on track too. Him and Ryan Matulovic were kind of hitting pretty good on almost all cylinders early in the year.
Yeah.
But now that Keon's sort of gotten his rhythm with Ryan and being able to get in space, it really adds a whole other element, because that's the home run hitter that you have to have in order to stretch that defense, in order to allow even the running game to work well. And I will say from both of their parts in the offense is that they are also very good blockers. And that's the thing that Venice High School has always stressed. Tight ends and wide receivers, hey, we can't get those big runs. We can't score touchdowns without you guys blocking downfield.
And interesting to note, that pick on October 21st was the only interception of the season for Charles Lester, who is a five-star defensive back. And so, again, Bentley just has been very good each game as the season goes on, and he's got the Indians in a good position. Keon Sears last week, six catches for 67 yards. Also had a beautiful 40-yard pass to Ryan Matulovic. Matulovic finished with 5 catches for 88 yards. Finn Jones, 2 catches. I'd like to see the touchdown in the back of the end zone. His second touchdown of the season, I believe. Damon Wilson also had his first touchdown of his career, his offensive touchdown of his varsity career. It was a 6-yard touchdown pass from Brooks Bentley. And a couple of guys on defense who I really thought played well. Dominic Woods, 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Eli Seed had 3 solo and the interception, and Dalen Platt had the other interception. Those are the notables from last week. Anyone in particular you want to focus on a little bit further?
Well, yeah, I'll give you one thing. Is the Damon Wilson touchdown. Kind of interesting, conceptually, Damon is on the field in our goal line package where he plays sort of a fullback, H-back, whatever you want to call it, lead blocker. And you kind of knew that there was a potential for something to come out of that. You just everything you're running behind Damon.
Right.
Damon's blocking, and then some people would say, hey, do that early in the year, show it, and it keeps people off balance. Coach didn't do that. He did it now, and so now So go ahead and do that now, and gives them something to look at. Now the next team. So you got to know that formation came out. You know that Riverview has looked at that and said, hey, we got to watch Wilson. He can go out for a pass. So now you've sort of added the extra dimension to that goal line play. Now it's just not going to. Before it could be Brooks keeping it, could be handed up to Alvin, whoever is the running back at the time. But now you can pull it, and you've got an opportunity to throw it to a guy who's 6'4". And rangy and got good hands and everything else. So I think it's a big deal. I will say this also, talking about different performances. I had an opportunity to talk to Coach Larry Shannon on the Coach's Show this week, Coach Peacock under the weather. And we talked about the linebackers, and he really, really said how much Eli Seed and Dominic Wood have grown up in the inside, because they are the quarterbacks on the defense, and they're getting guys in the right positions, making plays. I mean, making a lot of plays. How would I put this? Sometimes you see a middle linebacker and he stands up because he has the game-changing hit or something like that. These guys get their hands on you, and you're not going anywhere.
No.
And so there's something to be said about that. I think I made a comment maybe earlier in the year that the best tackler I ever saw in my life was Derek Brooks. And Derek Brooks could bring it when he needed to, but Derek Brooks had his hands on you, you were on the ground.
Absolutely.
It was over. And so these guys have a similar style. No comparison to Derek Brooks, obviously. But it's just a similar style. Get your hands on him. You make the tackle. You bring him to the ground, and don't let him do something silly because you're trying to make a play that's a highlight play. Blast him and knock his block off or whatever you want to say. Hey, put him on the ground, and that's what you need to do.
So the Rams are 5-6, and they come into tonight's game beating Sarasota last week 27-17. It was really a game of opportunities for Sarasota. It was for Riverview, excuse me. It was their 12th victory in a row over the Sailors, and the Sailors are coming off their first playoff win since 2004. The Rams were led last week by DJ Johnson, the running back, 31 carries for 163 yards and 1 touchdown. So a couple of the opportunities, Scooter Trotman picked one off. Penalty right afterwards, gave the ball to Sarasota, gave the ball to Riverview on the 15-yard line. Jeremiah Dawson, couple of runs there. It's 7-0, 5 minutes into the game. So 5 minutes in, an inexperienced Sarasota team is trailing to Riverview, and then it just kept on going. Charles Lester caught 3 passes for 67 yards and a touchdown, including one was a 53-yard screen pass from Dawson. He also threw an 11-yard touchdown pass to tight end Luke Petita, and later ran it in from 32 yards out for a score, but a holding penalty took the touchdown off the board. So he almost had the trifecta, catching one, throwing one, and running one.
Yeah.
And that Riverview defense deserves a lot of credit for slowing down the Sarasota's run game. 97 yards on 24 carries. So the Rams came out, punched them in the mouth quickly, and then took advantage of opportunities the Sailors gave them largely due to their inexperience.
Based on the first game, I will tell you this: the one thing that if I have a little nervousness in my stomach over this game is, I think the Rams defense is pretty darn good.
Yes.
I think they hit hard. I think they play well. I think they play good. They're very smart. And I love the way that they attack the football and they try to go after the ball in a lot of cases. So with that being the case, that's one thing. If that defense gets confidence and continues to get confidence, that worries me because that could definitely be the case. They could take that momentum and run with it, and then the Indians would probably be facing a very, very tough task.
So we'll talk about the last time these two teams played on October 21st. The Indians brought home a 31-21 victory on Sarasota's field. It was a district championship game, so the Indians started their run towards the state playoffs that night. Indians trailed 14-7 at the half, but then outscored the Rams 24-0 over the second and third quarter. And that was when the offense was trying to figure out what they were doing. A lot of slow starts, but they kicked in that second and third quarter and really took advantage of that game.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about that. So it's just, like I said, I go back to all what happened in that game. It was just, again, I think that Riverview, they tried to do what I just said they're going to do. We're going to do tonight, but I think it's going to be a situation where I think we're just going to have to, if our 22 play their best, if our 22 focus, I don't know if I think we have this football game for sure.
Gator Wilder had his first 200-yard game of his varsity career on that night, 207 and 1 touchdown. Overall, the running tandem of Wilder, Johnson, and Bentley, 46 carries for 352 yards. Brooks was 9 of 16 for 157 and 2 touchdowns. And really, that was the last time that the offense needed Bentley to be effective in the running game in order to get ahead.
Yes, and like I said, we talked about it a little bit. Brooks runs when necessary. It's not something that they just say, hey, well, that's part of the offense. Brooks is going to get 12, 14 carries. Brooks is the guy that you look to and say, hey, we got to open this thing up. We got to do some things for you. And his running style is it a smart running style? It's just he picks his way through it. He's a little faster than people give him credit for. Yeah. He knows where the sticks are, which is a big thing. Like how many times you see a guy run or catch a pass and he's like, oh, I'm going to go backwards to get 5 more yards, and he loses 2, and then he doesn't get the first down. Brooks runs to the sticks. Once he's there, then whatever he gets extra, he takes. But he's trying to. He knows what that line of scrimmage is, and he's trying to get that first down, which is a really, really important thing, especially in crucial situations.
So we'll take a quick break here on VSN. We'll come back with the regional final preview from the other games that we're going to be paying attention to tonight. One of them has already started. We'll be back over on our NFHS broadcast. $11.99 gets you tonight's game. You can watch it live on your home TV. You can go to YouTube, NFHSnetwork.com/vibrantaspectmedia to purchase on your computer. You can get it right on your Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, Roku, any kind of streaming platform, and watch this straight from your living room if you can't make it out here to Powell Davis Stadium. Kickoff's coming up in about 20 minutes. And we'll be back here on tonight's pregame show, only brought to you by Vibrant Aspect Media.
What does Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram and Venice High football have in common?
The perfect team and the perfect lineup.
Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram will always go the extra yard so you can score big with the area's best selection and savings. So if you're looking for a championship vehicle lineup
and a dealership that tackles the competition,
visit Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice.
And if you're looking for a championship football lineup, check out the Venice High football team.
Who supports Venice High football?
Douglas does!